from them. By putting one village to the stake, I spared 10 more. Sometimes the world no longer needs a hero. Sometimes what it needs is a monster.
I take the world and turn it inside out. Ice in my veins, see the blood on the ground. I take the world and turn it upside down. Dark is the future and silence the sound. It's a revival, come with a rifle. You're suicidal, see with my eyes closed. You wanna die slow, shot like a 9-volt. That's with my mind closed, I do not mind, no. This ain't a typo, for all of the bloodsuckers. Catch you were wondering, this ain't a typo. You hear the thundering from out of the ozone. Sound like a diamond ring, but it's a cold stone. They see a corpse, standing outside of their fort. They don't know how to report. Walking around with a spark in my heart, man, they wanna put me to the sword. Feeling my last resort, but I don't feel no remorse. Chase me around with they lighters, they test what they lighters, they ready for war. Yeah. Oh, what a shame, yeah. Oh, they would change, yeah. They see the monster in me, but don't see the angel. There is a haunting in me, I know that you can't tell. I know that I can't tell.
What's cracking, Ceph Gang? It's your boy, Squid the Wino, aka King Calamari, aka Daddy Tentacles. You know what this is? A brand new build video for 2019. Thanks to everybody who continuously supports the channel. Just want to, take that time out to say thank you guys. Everybody a part of Ceph Gang, all my homies down in at No Meta. I really do appreciate all the support, whether it be from the build videos to the fail videos, to the mashups. And everybody who enjoys the music. I always put my my SoundCloud link into in the description. So if you like any of the songs that you hear in the videos, you check out the videos, you like the songs, you can just go in the description and click right on that link. It'll take you right to my SoundCloud page, and you can listen to it whenever you like to without having to go to YouTube. Right? This is my second attempt at doing this video. The first video, it took me 30 minutes. I talked for 30 minutes. So I'm going to try not to talk for 30 minutes. The second video, I did it in 15 minutes, but I didn't record that shit. Moment of silence for my pride and for my time. Now, so I'm going to try to keep it short as possible. Let's jump right on into it. This build is very, very different. A heads up, if you're brand new to the class, I do not suggest running this particular build because it is a little bit more advanced and it is different from the typical way to play Magplar, mostly because we're not running Vampire Mist on this build, but we do have a way to get mobility. We do have a way to like move around. This is almost, it's like a kite and fight build, you know, which you typically don't see from a Magplar. They pretty much put up their rune, they fight in their rune, and you know, they make a last stand, right? This is not that. You know, this build, Swamp Fever, is completely different from how I normally play a Magplar, and it's the most fun I've had playing, and probably my favorite build to date, right? To date. And it is actually, and it was surprisingly effective. So let's just jump right into the stat sheet, right? All right, nothing too impressive here, right? You're just looking at it and you're like, oh, okay, you know, stats look a little low as far as max Magicka. But let me explain something real quick. Never just look at a stat sheet and write that particular build off unless you know unless the person has put out a build video or the person has showed you some gameplay or of it, because your stat sheet is not your end all be all, right? There's passives that affect things. There's abilities, and there's certain abilities or skills that are a part of sets, or part of your passives that aren't reflected on your stat sheet, right? So never just look at a stat sheet and just be like, it's OP. Plus, people can buff up a stat sheet, meaning they can run a whole bunch of Mage's Guild abilities and you know, whatever else to make their stat sheet, you know, to make them seem like they have a super high max magical pool or a super high spell resist. There's all sorts of stuff. Like, I could put something together that would make you think that this build is the ungodly. I mean, this build is just ungodly. Just super, super fire. But is it effective? Probably not, because there's a whole bunch of skills on there that you would not use in PvP. You see what I'm saying? That's not effective when you're getting zerged down, right? So don't just look at the stat sheet. Just a heads up for that. Just wanted to forewarning. I'm going to explain how everything works in just a second, right? So the thing I do want you to pay attention to is the stam recovery is higher than what we're normally sitting at. 942, that's a lot of stam recovery on a Magicka build, especially on a Magplar. You typically don't see stam recovery that high, right? But there's a reason for that, and it's one of the sets that I'm wearing, and it works out perfectly. So good, so good, right? Spell resistance, this is unbuffed, right? Let's buff up. This is what we're looking like. Spell resist, physical resist, pretty standard, nothing crazy. Critical resist, 2,302. Once I need to trait change all the other two pieces that I have. They're both sturdy. I need to trait change them to end pin. That'll put me at the sweet spot of like 2,500, right? And that's more than enough. That's more than good enough for me. Magic recovery, 1,462. When you run rune, I run elemental drain. Like, those two are giving me recovery. So again, like I said, those things are not factored on the stat sheet. You get what I'm saying? So 1,400 is more like 2,000. So if I see a stat sheet that is, they got 2,000 magic recovery, right? I'm already thinking, man, they got too much magic recovery. In all honesty, you know what I mean? They could be putting points in damage, or they can be putting points in their maximum resource, their stamina, or their magicka. You get what I'm saying? Because there are abilities and passives and all sorts of things that give you that recovery. So 1,400 is more than good enough, especially with the rune and the elemental drain. But we're going to jump right into this. All the points are going into magicka, right? Oh, also want to mention the Atronach. I am running the Atronach. Major sorcery. You're wondering how I get major sorcery? Most of the time I use alliance spots. I'm not a fan of rattle cage, but for this build I decided to go rattle cage, and that was because I didn't want to use structured entropy or degeneration, and I wanted a way, because I'm not running vampire mist, to run like move pots. You see what I'm saying? And still have that major sorcery, which is so important to our damage. So rattle cage was the way. If you are running structured entropy or degeneration, I would suggest dropping rattle cage and going Julianos. Julianos is crafted 6 straight set. Pretty good. You can run light, or you can run heavy, right? And it gives you some critical damage, and it gives you a line of max magicka, which helps with the fact that our max magicka is kind of low, right? Also, I want to point out that I'm running a 6-1 setup. That's not the optimal setup. What we're supposed to be running is a 5-1-1, and I'll show you how we're going to be running it. But let's just jump into what we got right now, right? Master's Lightning Staff, as you guys know, if you guys watched the previous build video, which I suggest if you're a brand new player to Magic of Templar, check that out. I put that down in the link below. Ultra Instinct Defense Hiss God, that is the more typical traditional way to play Magplar. Very, very strong build. You can even go over to my Hiss God build. Very, very solid build. Shout out to everybody who's been sharing and liking that. I think it's up to almost about 7K views right now. So I appreciate all the support. But in that previous Ultra Instinct defense build video, I had a Master's Fire Staff because I didn't have a Lightning Staff. As you see now, my boy K7 came through with the clutch RNG drop when we ran BDSA, and he gave me the Lightning Staff, so we're good to go. And the second set we're running is Prisoners Rags. Now, you might be familiar with this set. It's a set that has kind of been forgotten. Some people used to use it on their Stam Sork because they dark deal a lot, and dark deal requires Magicka. So if you look on the surface, you would think this is almost a set that's geared specifically for a Stam Sork. You know what I mean? Running a kite and fight build, running dark deal, right? It doesn't seem like it would have much application for a Magicka build, especially because it gives 2 lines of stamina recovery and max stamina. So we're not getting any max Magicka, any Magicka recovery. The only thing that we're getting, which is key to the build, is we're restoring Magicka, 953 Magicka every 1 second while sprinting. And the reason why this set has been overlooked, and I understand why, because I overlooked the set until I started theory crafting a little bit more, is because Magplars don't run. You know, they don't sprint. Most Magplars, they drop their rune, they're fighting in their rune, you know what I mean? They'll vampire miss, you know what I mean, around a rock or to the tree, you know, to some line of sight, and then they'll set up again. Same thing with Mag DK, right? Same thing with Mag Sorks. Mag Sorks, they just streak, you know what I mean? They're not sprinting typically. And Mag Blade might be the only other one where I would say that. But here's the thing with Mag Blade, they have cloak, and you can't sprint while in cloak. You can have major expedition, but you can't sprint while in cloak, so that kind of nullifies that, right? So for Magicka builds, it's overlooked because of that specific reason. However, I'm going to show you why that factors in and why that's so good. So Shock Enchant on the Master Lightning Staff, I am running Nern. I didn't jump on the wave of Infuse when everybody went Infuse. I knew it was overperforming. I knew that it was going to get a nerf, and what happened? It got a nerf, and now you have people that have Infuse are now trait changing back to Nern, right? So I just kept it Nern because I didn't feel like Infuse the Nern was going to affect my performance that much anyway, and I'm glad I kept it that way. Enchant on this, I have an Absorb Magic Enchant. I'm going to put a Berserker enchant on this. I don't need the Absorb Magic enchant. I just had that. I never put the enchant that I was supposed to put on there. But again, you can run what you want on your back bar. I still would recommend the one that increases your spell damage by 5 seconds, you know, when you light attack, off a light attack or whatever. I'm running Max Stam on the back bar. I'm not running Max Magicka because once I swap to the back bar, if I'm at 31K or 32K, if I have it set up the correct way. If I'm at 32K, that means when I swap to my back bar, I have 33K. But, you know what I mean? It's not like I gain an extra, you know, 1,000 Max Magicka. You know what I mean? It's really basically what the reason why I have Max Stamina is because we sprint a lot in this build. Excuse me. Pirate Skeleton, that's what I'm running currently. But that was because I was running solo yesterday and the day before. So I was doing some 1vx trying to get clips and all that. And so even in heavy armor, I find that you can never really have too much resistance, to be honest, because the Zergs are getting bad. You guys already know what it is. I'm not even going to turn this into one of those videos. I highly recommend running all Max Magicka. Get gold Max Magicka glyphs if you can. The reason why this is tri-stat is just because I was using this on a build where I was running tri-stat glyphs. So anyway, for your headpiece, you can run whatever you want. You can run One Piece Pirate, One Piece Shoot On, Pirate Skeleton. You can run, or Valken. I wouldn't recommend running Blood Spawn. I think it's more effective on I honestly just think it's more effective on stamina builds. Magica, Magnite might be the exception to that. You know what I mean? Because their ulti, they get so much from their ulti as far as resources and damage and everything. So another way to build ulti is nice for a Magnite. But outside of that, probably not. We're running recovery glyphs on everything. Again, my jewelry right here on this is blue because the only way to get purple glyphs is to or purple rings is to upgrade it or purchase it out of the Cyrodiil vendor. By that I mean you need to spend AP and go to the zone, like the zone vendor in Cyrodiil, and you can purchase. Hopefully you'll get it to drop in purple. Blue doesn't affect me that much. Like I said, it's minimal amount. Like it's not, as you can see, here's the difference as far as magic recovery goes. You know what I mean? 157. It would go up a little bit. The main thing is once these are both purple, I think it'll restore like 1,000 max magic or something like that. Might be, yeah. Anyway, it increased a little bit, but again, 953 to 1,000. We're talking about 53 recovery. You know what I mean? Or gain magica. It's not substantial to the point where it just breaks the build, right? Skills are a little bit different. But pretty much the same. Front bar is pretty much the same as my last build. So Reflective Light, our way to get Major Prophecy. Also our way to get Minor Sorcery because we have access to that as Templars. Shock Reach, pretty much a mandatory if you're running the Master's Lightning Staff. Now, if for some reason you don't have a Master Staff, that means you don't have a Master's Lightning Staff or a Fire Staff, I strongly recommend just running a Willpower Lightning Staff, as I mentioned in my previous build video. Puncturing Sweeps, that's our main spammable. Elemental Drain, not only does it give us Major Breach, which is really important in the heavy armor build, but it also applies Minor Magicka still. Like I said, that's not going to show up on the tooltip, but we're talking about 300 Magicka every 1 second while damaging an enemy. You get what I'm saying? So that 1,400, add 300 onto that, right? That Rune, add 250 onto that. You get what I'm saying? So we're sitting at like 2,100 Magicka recovery that you're not really seeing in the tooltip. So again, don't just go off of tooltips. Or not tooltips. Don't just go off of stat sheets because they can be fluffed. Purifying Light, you know what I mean? I like that. Like its skill. Everybody kind of knows what it does. Pretty solid. Stack damage is really good for people that are running away from you. You put all the dots on them. So even if they get out of your jab range, you still have a way to continuously put some pressure on them because once it explodes, it gives a nice little burst damage. Crescent Sweep, I really like this. Like I said, I swapped to this when Murkmire came out. I don't typically run Donnie, but you can run Donnie on this build because if you decide, because we're not running Init Axiom, right? You're running Rattle Cage or you're running Heavy Julianos. So everything's getting a buff, so you can run Dawnbreaker here if you prefer Dawnbreaker, or even Meteor if you prefer a Meteor here, right? I do have Vampire Mist, but that's not what I run here. I run Race Against Time. This is the ability that I swapped out for Vampire Mist. It's really, really effective, and I'm going to talk about this. It's pretty much key to the build, right? So we already know that Prisoner's Rags gives a reduction in sprint cost by 50%. So this gives us Major Expedition for 3 seconds just by popping it. So the other morph will make it 9 seconds, but it has a cast time. You don't have time to be messing around with a cast time if you're getting Zerg down. You know what I mean? Because during that time, you can get CC. During that time, you're slowed, you're snared. You don't want that. You don't want it. In addition to this, the reason why this is so nice is it gives you Minor Force for 12 seconds. So you pop this, you go to your front bar. Your critical damage is up by 10%. So it's really, really good. Excuse me, I have a cold. And then in addition to that, we are running Total Dark. If you don't want to run Total Dark, there's no feasible reason why I would understand why you wouldn't want to run Total Dark. But if for some reason you don't like the skill or something like that, you can even run Defensive Posture here because we have enough Magicka recovery, right? We have enough Magicka recovery to do so, or Stamina recovery to do so. Plus that factors into the break free in your CP tree, but I'll get into that later. Extended Ritual, you want to take this one, the one that purifies more dots off you instead of the one that does more damage. You don't want the one that does more that does damage because you want to purify more dots, right? Because if you get the one that only takes off 3 and you have 6 dots on you, You see what I'm saying? Now you got to hit this twice. Or you have 5 dots on. You got to hit it twice to get more negative effects. This costs almost as much as Breath of Life, right? We're only running like 32k maximum magicka, so we're looking at what? Almost 15k between popping this twice and popping Honor the Dead, which, you know what I mean? If you know how to play Magplar, that's what you're doing. You're purging, and then you're hitting Breath of Life. You don't make sure you're. That's Magplar 101. Make sure you purge. If you have dots on you, make sure you purge before you hit Honor the Dead so you get the full benefit out of it. Channel Focus, again, like I said, standing in the room increases physical resistance, spell resistance, but it also gives you magic recovery for every 1 second. 250. Again, like I said, 1400 is not really 1400. It's closer to like 2k, right? Honor the Dead, another way. It's another, you know what I mean, to get your recover some of your magicka costs. Healing anyone who is below 75% restores 60% of the abilities cast over 6 seconds as magicka. So essentially, it's a little bit over 3k. You get a little bit more than 3k back over 6 seconds when you pop Honor the Dead. Generally, you can run whatever you want here. Typically, I do run the shield ulti, right? I run spell wall. And or I'll run Devouring Swarm. You can run I forget what the morph version of this is, but you want the morph version that gives you minor temporal guard, I think. Anyway, it gives you minor protection, right? It's pretty clutch. And again, while you're if you have this on your bar, you're getting the benefit of while sliding and blocking, you gain a damage shield that absorbs 5,000 damage. So, you know, it happens once every 10 seconds, but it's still really, really beneficial. And then when you're casting a Acidic ability, you gain major protection, reducing your damage taken by 30%. So if for some reason somebody is hitting you while you're pressing that, you should be good to go. And I know what you're thinking. Well, if I'm getting major protection, shouldn't I just take the morph that makes it go for longer? No, don't do it. You want to just be able to press it and get out. You know what I mean? It's the same. It's essentially the same concept as a bow user, roll dodging, and sprinting. You see what I'm saying? I guarantee you, if the roll dodge was a cast time or something like that, they would not be using that as much. You get what I'm saying? Like, you want to be able to pop in a move pot or a speed pot and get out, right? That's basically the point of it. Undaunted, the most important thing about Undaunted is you want this is because increase your maximum, all your max resources by 2% per types of armor. So if I was running optimally, it would be 6%, right? 6% because I'd have 1 light piece as well. And you do want that 1 light piece. All your skills in our as an Argonian. What did I miss? Yep, everything for light armor. If you're running light armor, if you're going to run heavy armor, just get these 3 right here. If you're running heavy armor, if you're running light armor, just get these 3 here. But what you do want to make sure you get that's really critical for this build is the Windwalker. Increase your stamina recovery by 4% per piece of medium armor equipped, right? So that's 4%. Reduce stamina cost of your abilities by 2% per medium armor, so it's pretty solid. But this athletics, increase the movement speed bonus of sprint by 3% for each medium armor. So we get 3%, right? Every little bit it counts, especially when you're trying to be speedy. And Vampire, pretty much get all the normal passives, you know, supernatural recovery, undeath, unnatural resistance, Darkstalker. Right. Let's jump into CP real quick. All right, CP we did have a big change for CP. 56 into Warlord, 21 into Sprinter. That's extremely, extremely important because we're sprinting in this build, right? Do whatever you need to do, however you want to set this up. It's pretty much a standard setup. Whatever you need, but you just want wind running, right? Again, something that's not going to be shown on the tooltip. Increases your health and magicka recovery by 10% while sprinting. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't show up on your stat sheet, right? So while sprinting already, we're getting magicka back via the Prisoner's Rags. But in addition to that, we also have increased our magicka recovery by 10% while we are kiting, which is very, very good. Unlike Vampire Mist, which gets rid of that. You get what I'm saying? Like, which reduces your magicka recovery, right? And that's another reason why this is very, very solid, right? 56 Argonist, 43, 27 Tenacity. This one you can kind of set up however you want. If you feel like you block a lot, 20%. Tumbling, 11, gives you 5%. I honestly, I'm finding in this particular build, I'm not blocking as much. So I'll probably drop this down and put some more points into tumbling. It's really all that matters for that particular build, right? 56 in the Elfborn, right? We have no points in the Bless. I don't think Templar needs points in the Bless. I don't run a heal bot, so I don't run a lot of points in the Bless or quick recovery. We have enough heal. We have enough heals from Breath of Life or Honor the Dead, so we don't need it. 56 Elemental Expert. So the big thing is the Elfborn. The reason why I'm putting so much in the Elfborn, even on a heavy armor build, is because Templars crit a lot regardless, because everything that we do is a dot. So at least 1 out of every jab, even with a low crit, is going to crit on a Templar. 9 times out of 10. Same thing that goes with your reflective light, right? So you want to boost your critical damage because you're going to crit, right? Same thing goes with critical healing, but it's more for the critical damage. Increase your critical damage and critical healing. It's really nice when you get an Honor the Dead crit. Like, it really pisses people off because you'll sit there, purify, and you'll have like 10% of your health left, and your Honor the Dead crits, and you're almost back up to full again without Blessed. You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't need a lot of points in the Bless. 27 Dispel Erosion. All right. Stab Expert. I'm running a staff. I weave. Enough said about this. If you're running a staff and you light weave like you're supposed to run, you definitely want some points into Stab Expert. Master at Arms, 20% into direct damage. So direct damage factors into the initial hit off of all of your attacks, which is important. So the initial hit off your clinch, which is big damage, off your Crescent Sweep if you're running that, off your Dawnbreaker if you're running that, and even off your Reflective Light, the initial hit off of that, the initial hit off of the jabs, like everything. You know what I mean? Big damage off of if you're running Purifying Light, because Purifying Light is it functions off of Master at Arms as well. And Thaumaturge, enough said, right? Templar, you're running dots, Thaumaturge, 56 points into that. All right, final little red tree setup. 56 Ironclad, 40 into resistance. This will get you to about 2600 if you have all your gear in pin. 56 Hardy, 56 Elemental Defender, 28 Thick Skin because we're Templar, we can purge. And 15 points into Expert Defender because competent players and even players that are not so good, they know to light attack weave in between their attacks, right? So you want to kind of mitigate that damage as well. And quick recovery, as you can see, 5.22%, which is essentially just 5% quick recovery. And that's it. That is it. That's pretty much all you need on this build. This build is very, very solid. Like you saw in the videos, I'll be posting more videos up. If you want to run Vampire Mist, for some reason you just like, man, I just need Vampire Mist, I would run this build. I can't run Vampire Mist. I don't know if this was the case always, but I don't remember it being the case. If it was the case, well, I guess I learned something new. If you didn't know, if you decide to block cancel Vampire Mist, you still retain Major Expedition, right? So, block cancel, sprinting still. See what I'm saying? So you can still use it the same way you use the other thing. You just have to be good at block canceling. So if you're good at block canceling, you can still use it. See what I'm saying? However, you will still burn a little bit more magicka than you would if you just ran the other way. So it's not really good for kiting, right? But just a tip for anybody who wants to still run Vampire Mist. And obviously, you can use it if you need to, right? But that's it, man. I'll see you guys when I see you guys, man. Stay tuned. More content on the way. Thanks for watching.
No, we don't play games, except when we play games. Well, now, finessing my campaign. My squad in the party, you know that that's gang gang. Oh, you see my KD, I'm not talking KD. Well, now, we not on the same team, you not in the same stream.